Mark Nottingham is not going to be joining us today. Bless his heart, he is driving a RV cross country at the moment with his whole family. So if you want to send a little bless up his way, but you get the A team today. You get me and Megan running the show. So you're welcome. I have two things tech-wise that I want to go over with you. Number one, you might have seen an email come out from corporate about their automated settlement statements. And if you didn't see that, I just want to bring attention to that. And I'm going to just play the video that they sent out. It's really short, but I think it's a really impactful tool for you guys to be using during tax season. Who loves tax season? Isn't it so fun? Just kidding. I hate taxes. I hate it when they come around. Okay, I am going to share this video and we're going to watch along. Sorry, I was muted. Just to highlight what was happening on that video. So platform, any deal that you have done within 2024, it'll grab all of those settlement statements and automatically send them out to your clients. If you don't want those sent out, or if you want to make any changes, get into that tool in platform. Just search tax settlement statements to see what will be sent out. But your clients are going to need that for their taxes. And I think it's a really nice way for you to provide value for your clients without really having to do very much. So anyway, take a look at that email. It should all be in your inbox if you wanted to see and review that video again. Okay, and then I want to talk about eCampaign today. So eCampaign is a tool we have in platform, and it's really meant to be an email marketing system. So think about something like MailChimp or something like that. And it's all connected with your CRM to be able to easily send out email marketing to your clients. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again and show you and just walk you through a quick demo of Campaign. So I'm in the platform home screen at the moment, and I am going to hit on eCampaign. It's over here on the left, and it's going to bring me into my eCampaign dashboard. Now, when I want to create a new eCampaign, I'm going to hit on this menu button and hit new. And then I have two options from there. I'm going to choose either listing news and custom content, which is probably what you guys are going to use most often if we're being real. But then I can also choose seasonal content. I'm going to click into that quickly just so you can see what that looks like. But this is all of the pre-built content that exists in Content Hub for you. So you can feel free to grab this and just send that out quickly to your clients. But I think what you will use most often is that listing news and custom. So I'm going to hit menu and I'm going to hit new and choose listing news and custom. It's going to make you name this email, and this name is just for you. So it's just internally, and I'm going to say this is a test for this week, this morning. And then you're going to add a subject line, and this can change later on. So if you wanted to just name it something random right now, and then once you have it actually built out in your system, you can rename it. But I'm going to say new listing alert. And then I'm going to hit next. And it's going to bring me into a couple different templates. So this first line here is going to be listings only template. And you'll see the main difference is how the listings are configured. And then if your signature is on the top here or on the bottom. And then you've got listing and news templates. And then you've got completely custom templates. I'm just going to choose one of these randomly, and it's going to pull me into the eCampaign builder. Okay, so the first thing I do every single time I get in an eCampaign is I hate this background color of the eCampaign. It always defaults to this dark gray, and I just don't like it. So the first thing that I always do is I click into design and I change it over to a white background. I just think it looks cleaner, but that's totally up to your preference. And then on content, I think a good rule of thumb for eCampaign is you're going to click to edit anything. So you're just going to keep clicking into things. And I can either click right here on the news/story, or I can click in on this little content block here as well. And then it's going to take me into the editing of this block. So do I want it to say in the news, or do I want it to say headlines? I don't know, you choose. And then I can hit this edit news story. And now I'm working on this specific block. And if I hit select image, this is going to take me to the resources we have in Content Hub. So if I wanted to go ahead and quickly throw a blog in there, I could just grab that and it's going to auto-populate here. I'll be straight up with you guys and just tell you, we don't have a ton of refreshed content in there. It's on my dream bucket list to have a copywriter on staff, or someone who can throw things in there, but I'll keep advocating for that in budget meetings. But in the meantime, one thing that I wanted to show you is you can add your own news stories in here as well. So if I wanted to work on this one, I'm going to hit edit news story and hit select image. And maybe I want to throw one of those articles that Mark references in there. So I'm pulling up last week's this morning, and we've linked all of the articles there from last week. So I'm going to go ahead and hit on this. Oops, sorry, I forgot to share my other tab. Hang tight. So this is one of the articles from Mark's email last week. And I'm going to go ahead and use something from this. So I'm going to say, I want to link this article. I'm going to grab this image. This probably breaks image copyright laws, and I didn't look that up before the meeting, so don't get me in trouble for this. But I'm going to hit upload, and I'm going to upload that screenshot. Take its sweet, sweet time. Let's try that again. Okay, so now I have my image in there. I'm gonna grab the link to that story and paste it in there so people can actually be taken to the link. And then I'm gonna just grab the first paragraph of this story and throw it in to the body and description here and see that pull up. So know that that's an option for you. And then moving down to the featured listings, this is one of my favorite parts of eCampaign. You can pull your listings in automatically from the MLS, whatever MLS that you are doing, you are using. So I'm going to hit on the featured listing, and I am going to pull up one of my past listings. There it is. And then it's going to pull up all of the photos from the MLS. So I can choose, okay, I'm going to choose a couple of photos that I want and hit use selected photos. And then it's going to pull all that information in. So there is my photos. It's going to pull in the address, Bed Bath, and price count. And then it's also going to bring in the description. So one thing I will say is currently you can only pull in your own personal listings. If you wanted to, you could also, depending on what market you're in, which I'll talk about in a second, you could also enter in properties manually if you wanted to add any more of those. But I think every board regulates this differently. So for instance, in my board, if you wanted to add someone's listing, you need to have it one click away from their actual listing. So something that references them or give them credit. In the Lafayette Board of Realtors, they're like, no, do not share anyone else's listings outside of your own. They're very, very strict about it. And then in the Evansville board, you have to get written permission from the managing broker of the other office. So just know that sometimes people are really intense about like how you're sharing listings and how you're giving credit. So just be careful about how you're doing that. And then the other thing that I wanted to show you is that you can add completely custom blocks too. So if I wanted to hit this add section and hit custom block, then I can add in literally anything that I wanted here. So I could hit select image. It's going to pull up anything from Content Hub. So if I wanted to throw in any of these pre-built contents, I could upload a picture. I could also upload a video. And then once you're ready to send it out, or at least send a test, you can hit send test. It's going to tell me you have content missing, but I can send it to myself to see how it looks. I can preview this and it's going to load in both desktop here. So this is what it's going to look like when someone opens it on their computer, or I can also switch over to mobile and see what it looks like when someone's opening it up on their phone. I can also clone this. So if I wanted to maybe create an e-campaign that was more specific to Broad Ripple, and then I wanted to clone it and just change out the elements that were Broad Ripple specific and make it available for like any kind of neighborhood that I wanted to send it out to, that's where the clone feature would be helpful. Maybe if I didn't want to send it out at the moment, I can just hit save and access it in my dashboard. And then if I'm ready to send it, I'm going to hit send or schedule. I can hit select recipients, and then it's going to pull up the different options I have to send it to people. So I can choose just one specific person's name or email address. I can email my entire sphere. That's everyone who exists in my CRM. It's going to highlight the essential farms. These are the farms that are just like automatically built out for you. And then all the custom farms that you've built. So if you have relocation clients or people from a very specific neighborhood, you can choose that. And then you can also do it by client type as well, or by ranking. Lots of different options. So you choose who you want to send it to. This is where you can edit that subject. And then when you're ready, you can say, okay, I want to send it today and hit send immediately, or I can schedule it as far out as I would like. Okay. Once you've sent this, I want to show you what it looks like on the back end to look at all the statistics that come in from that. So I'm actually going to delegate into Mark's account to look at one that he sent previously. Okay, so I'm on my eCampaign dashboard, and I'll see this highlight here that says sent. If I want to see all of the statistics of who opened this, who unsubscribed, all that good stuff, I'm going to click into these three dots here and hit view stats. And it's going to give you probably more information than you could ever need. So it's going to say, hey, this is who it sent to. This is who it was successfully sent to, who opened, who clicked, who unsubscribed. One thing I want to highlight here on the open rate is sometimes people get really discouraged by a lower open rate. When you are sending out a marketing email, a fantastic open rate is like 20%. So I think just take a deep breath when you see those come in and you think, oh my gosh, I put all this work into this e-campaign and only 20% of my people opened it. That's actually a really, really great email open rate when you look at it from a broader marketing perspective. You can see click-through rate, and then you also, they break down the engagement over time. Who are the top engaged people, top clicked links. And then you can break it down by specific recipients as well, who opened, who didn't open. And then you can get really advanced and see what type of device were they using when they opened it. So that is the breakdown that I have for you for eCampaign today. Feel free, as always, to hit me up with any questions you have over eCampaign or any kind of tech. Megan, it is your turn to steal the spotlight. Take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Matt shared some great data, and I'm going to share some more data as it relates primarily to this is just entire state of Indiana data. So you may hear a little variation from what Matt shared. Basically, so we now have like total end of year 2024 data in, right? The number of sales, you guys know some of this. The number of sales from 23 to 24, again, statewide, was essentially flat. About 300 houses more sold in 2024 than did in 23. So essentially just kind of a level, not a ton of growth or movement from 23. You guys know inventory is down. It's down 24% over the last 5 years and about 60% compared to 10 years ago. The pace of sale is actually still pretty quick on average for 24. This kind of surprised me, but on average, we're still seeing about 15 days on market. And as far as like pending or list to pend, sorry, excuse me. And then for the year this year, again, statewide, the average was a 96% list to sell ratio. And they kind of attribute that to this sort of lukewarm demand, if you will. Half of all sales had at least one price reduction in 2024. What's kind of exciting though now is we do have some January data so this is the first 3 weeks of January. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Can you guys see that, Rosie? Okay. I'm still getting better at Google Meet. Okay, so in January, again, first 3 weeks of data, we are seeing like the number of closings did rise over. So this is in comparison to January of last year. So in the first 3 weeks, closings are up, and that's thanks to how busy you guys all were in December. It's about 15% higher than it was at this time last year. New pendings are kind of lagging behind. We think that's probably because the rates are a little higher right now than they were this time last year. If you scroll down or if I scroll down so you can see this second chart, inventory is still up. This is kind of, I had to really wrap my brain around this. So it's normal to see this downward trend in inventory, right? And that's just the normal seasonality of our business. But it is actually, this number is higher than it was a year ago, if that makes sense. So don't be alarmed by the fact that it's dipping. That's the normal seasonal downturn, but it is actually, inventory is about 14% higher than it was last year. So it takes, January, it's very typical that the number of listings coming on the market and therefore the number of houses pending is a little slower, but we think that's just seasonal stuff. Statewide, so this I thought was interesting. So if you look at all of 2024, the median sales price is actually about 7% higher than it was a year ago. And what people that are experts smarter than me will attribute this to, at least somewhat, is that basically a larger share of our total sales are coming from a higher priced home, essentially. So those buyers are not as impacted by interest rates if you're buying at a higher price point. And so because those homes are taking up a larger share of the number of houses selling, that's why we're seeing this price increase essentially happening. So with regards to that, if we look at in December of last year, pending sales under 250,000 were actually down by 8% year over year, but contracts over 250K were actually up 12%. So I think it's all really encouraging information as far as we're barely into this year, obviously. But I think just when I've talked to several of you about how the general vibe seems to be that everyone is busy and starting to feel the market really start to move. So cautiously optimistic about what 2025 will look like. Of course, a lot of that's going to just depend on what happens, or could depend on what happens with the rates. But I think as in general right now, compared to last January, we're certainly sitting ahead of where we were. So I know that was not nearly as verbose as Mark would have made his market update for the week. Don't tell him I said that. But if anybody has any questions or thoughts or wants to hop in the chat or unmute yourself, we've got a few minutes. General thoughts about what's happening out there. No? Okay. Well, that's all I have this morning. Rosie, you have anything else? All right. Well, get out there.
Megan.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was like, wait, I was talking. Hey, wondering, talked to actually an agent yesterday, and they had their first new build under contract. And and this is kind of a question for Kyle and for you and for Matt. What do you suggest might be a good strategy for folks when we are competing with like new builds at 5.5 interest rates, and maybe what we could encourage our clients with, or if they're looking at an existing, how we might be able to package up the offer to be competitive?
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up. I've had last week, I think I had at least 2 to 3 different people call me with that same question. So just to clarify, you've got a listing, it's existing construction, and you're competing with new construction, and the builders are offering 5.5% rates. That's what Natania's saying. I think this is tricky, and certainly if Matt or Kyle or Cole want to chime in here, I think that's a point where I would be working with my lender partner to be figuring out what incentives we can offer to. Obviously, you're not going to get it down to 5.5 with a buy down. Most likely, that's probably going to be cost prohibitive. But making sure that you know those options. I think one of the disadvantages we have is a lot of agents in our marketplace don't understand how buy downs work or what they could look like. But I think being able to educate yourself and provide marketing materials around that are helpful. In some scenarios, I'm sure it is going to come. If there's existing new construction, meaning it's a spec home and it's sitting there ready to go, that is a tough competition situation, right? Because in a situation where they have to wait for new construction to be built, usually that's the advantage, right? That you're ready to go. And so unfortunately, price is probably going to be a factor there. I don't know if any of the guys from Reside have any other thoughts on that as far as competing with these builder rates.
Yeah, that's where I'm not sure if Matt or Kyle are on, but I was going to go with on the buy down, and we can get it probably pretty close depending on how we set up that credit on the front end to a middle of the 5 interest rate. So there is opportunity to get it to at least ballpark of where those builder rates are, and setting up the listing appropriately on the front end to build in that buffer there for the net proceeds to your seller. We can certainly talk about that on a case by case basis for your guys' listings to help structure those.
So if we wanted to do that, Cole, and maybe have that information for a listing presentation, just reaching out to you all and kind of giving you what the ballpark is of what we're thinking of listing, the range, and then coming up so we can be prepared. I've got one specifically in Bargersville I'm working on right now. And we're dealing with literally, like, you could throw a stone to a brand new house And we're like, we got to be creative with our incentives. And that might be also for us, we're thinking of, hey, let's throw in a water softener.
Right.
You know, so whatever else we can think of that, hey, concession for a water softener, because that's something that they don't get with a new build. So just trying to think of creative ways that we can make it a little more attractive. But yeah, that'd be helpful. I might shoot you an email and you might get overloaded with them. Sorry, but
No, that's okay. Yeah, just reach out to whichever one of us that you need to. And, you know, because there's options where you guys could just offer a 1.0 buy down, right? And that's going to cost less to your seller, but maybe it helps the buyer enough for that first year to feel comfortable, you know, before rates come down to refi. So, you know, we can always send you a couple options of like what a 1.0 looks like, a 2.1 looks like. So that way you guys can then decide where you guys want to take it there on the listing with your seller.
And what I was kind of alluding to, Natanya, is not just throwing an agent remark, sellers offering a buy down, but maybe taking it one step further and really helping to educate. Because again, I think a lot of agents, I mean, a lot of us included, hadn't had to deal with this in a very long time. So that you can kind of provide some kind of marketing piece and that extra call to the agent that's showing the house and so forth, saying this is what this looks like. We can actually compete. And thank you, Cole, for clarifying that you can get it that that they can get it close enough to at least be competitive. Whether that's for the first year or first couple of years, and hopefully there's a refinance opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you know, it's all credit score dependent on what the final number is, you know, based off of how much it's going to take to buy down. But we can kind of do an average of interest rate and credit score to get you guys a good ballpark number on those situations for sure.
yeah, I think both things are really helpful. And you're right. A lot of folks don't like, I didn't know what a buy down was until like 2 years ago. And I've been in it for a couple of years. So yeah, education is key.
Definitely, they've become more prevalent, and I think they're good options, especially if listings, you know, you think they may sit there for a little bit to offer those up.
So cool. Thank you.
Great question, Natanya. Thank you. Like I said, I've been asked that multiple times in the last week, just because I know that is definitely a concern right now. Any other questions or thoughts before we wrap this up? All right. Well, have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'm sure we'll see you soon, if not before next Wednesday. Have a good one.